I stand up straight away, rubbing my face and my eyes, trying to pull myself together, feeling already guilty for this breakdown, for having given voice to those sentiments that I know too well I should pretend are not there. I open the window, and Leo opes gaily inside. There is a scroll from George tied on his leg. Here you go. Make good use of him. Like, for example, to send her on to hell. Just an idea. If you need more suggestions of where to send him, I've got plenty. You only need to ask. George. I smile between tears, and avoiding purposefully Harry's gaze, I walk to the kitchen to write my letters. After an hour, I've got 3 scrolls in front of me, one for McGonagall, one for an English lawyer, an acquaintance of mine. She gave me good advice once about how to act in case of a mistreated elf. She seems very capable, and one for Molly and Arthur. The last one has been very difficult to write. I know I give them a very big disappointment in a moment when they are already low, but they need to be informed as soon as possible. I want them to find it out through me first. Harry watched me on my feverish activity from the threshold. Not even once I looked up, and not even for a second he stopped watching me. I'm determined, I say eventually, putting down my quill and tying all the scrolls to Leo's leg, whispering him instruction. Harry bows his head, and is gone. I try to clear my mind to decide on my next step. First thing first, I need to get my wand from the cottage, and then I have no choice, but I'll have to go to Romania to make sure Hugo is okay, and to organize what needs to be organized. I hate the idea of leaving Harry alone, but I have no other option. I must get there as soon as possible. When I'll have the chance, I'll ask somebody to pop over here. I go to the bathroom, and I wash my face with some cold water. I look determined, but also very tired. I'm still wearing the same clothes as yesterday. They are all wrinkled as I slept in them. I try to smooth them as much as possible, and with the brush I endeavor in taming my untamable hair, with very little success. While doing this petty operation, I think about Harry in the next room. The crying helped me to dissipate the overwhelming emotions that gripped on me in the last few days, and I feel again myself. My children are my priority right now, but Harry. And I sigh, knowing that farewell is coming closer and closer. He's sitting on the bed, glancing emptily in front of him. He smiles faintly when he sees me, as I sit beside him. I must go, I say. I know. I'll try to be back as soon as possible, but I don't know when. He nods imperceptibly. Don't forget to eat while I'm gone. I see he's trying to speak, but it's swallowed by a gulp. He places his hand on mine and squeezes it. I caress his unshaven and sunken face, and I give him a kiss, feeling a vice cleansing my stomach. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm saying goodbye for much longer time than what I hope. If everything goes to plan, I would like to be back tonight. And yet, it's like I'm leaving him forever. I stand up, sliding my hand away from his. He follows me with his gaze, still struggling to tell me something with little effect. But his eyes, that always convey their meaning better than words, can do it quite eloquently. He's begging me not to go. I'll be back soon, I say, trying to reassure those desperate eyes. And while I'm leaving slowly the room, trying not to look at him more than necessary, not to falter in my proposition, he calls out for me. I turn, keeping a firm grasp on the door frame to help me not to give in to that urge to run back to him. When you see the boys, will you tell them that I love them that I'm sorry. Sorry for what? Don't start again accusing yourself for something you have no fault of. And anyway, you will see them before me. I'm not going to Hogwarts. I say in reply, thinking he gathered I'm going there to speak to Rose, which I'm not. But he doesn't answer, and goes on speaking. And you'll kiss Siri for me, will you? I hope you will see her before me. I'm not going to the Barrow either. But when I'll see her, I'll certainly do. He nods pensively. I'm about to utter a goodbye when he speaks again. Thank you for having been the best friend I've ever had. I succeed in a watery smile. My pleasure, I answer playfully. He returns the smile and waves his hand. Go now. I'll miss you very much. I falter under this parting. He obviously feels the same way as I do about this farewell. I wonder why it feels that way. But I don't want him to be carried away by this misconception. Harry, don't worry. I'm going to be back very soon, if I can, even tonight. He nods with a half smile. I know you'll be back. Why do I feel like this sentence is left uncompleted? The cottage is dark. I really was not inclined to return here. I'm dreading a possible encounter with Ron, but the idea of facing what will surely be a hard day without my wand is unthinkable. I step lightly into the living room, and everything seems quiet. Perhaps he is already gone, but while I'm formulating this thought, a noise makes me jump out of my skin. It's none other than Ron, staring hard at me from the kitchen door. You are back, he says flat with a hoarse voice. His eyes are puffy and red. He must not have slept much. To take my wand and my things, and I'll be gone again, I mutter, picking up my wand from the floor where I let it drop. It feels like already ages are gone by, and it's not even 10 hours. To him? He says, narrowing his eyes. No, not to him. But as if I didn't speak, he continues. You cannot leave me for him. I'm not leaving you for him. I snap, annoyed, passing him by and getting into the kitchen. You know as well as I that our union wasn't meant to be. We turned a blind eye on it for too long. He overtakes me swiftly, standing in front of the fireplace, barring me the way. You are not going. I won't allow you to go. I arch an eyebrow inquiringly. He hasn't even got his wand. But even if he would, does he think he can prevail on me? Ron, let me go. As you said last night, between us is over. Forget what I said last night, he snaps angrily. Don't go. I fold my arms on my chest. I'm going, that you want it or not. We are too far gone to recuperate anything now. You can step aside, or I can jinx you. You get the choice. Where are you going? None of your business. And I warn you, I already took steps to protect me and the children. I've already sent letters, and if you try to give me a hard time, you'll pay for it. You know I've got connection, and you know that in these cases it's the mother that has got the better. Don't force me to be nasty. You know I'll be the one winning this battle. I see him falter under my threat. You cannot take the kids away from me, he says, getting back his composure a moment later. But I perceive a tinge of panic in the way the sentence is uttered. I'm not planning to, and if you cooperate, we can find a satisfying solution. Like what? Seeing them any other weekend? Become a stranger to them? You cannot do that, he bellows, getting hungry. You cannot force me away from the house. You know I can, but I would rather prefer not to arrive to such an extreme. But I will, if I must. Me and you. I say with conviction, pointing to my chest and to his, cannot live under the same roof anymore. And now you stand aside. I add, pointing my wand against him, you cannot do that to me! He shouts, getting agitated, spreading his arms in front of the fireplace and shaking his head. You are not going to go. I won't allow you to push me away from my children. You will leave them to me. No, Ron. You know it won't happen. I'm sorry we had to get to this, but it's unavoidable. I assure you, you will see them as much as you want, but they will stay with me. And you will move out as soon as you will be back. He widens his eyes in horror. No! He starts to shout frantically. You cannot leave me! You cannot! I won't let you go! Okay, right, I say, losing my patience. I turn on my heels and I get out from the kitchen. Where are you going? I hear him asking behind my shoulders. I don't answer, and I walk to the door. The fireplace is not the only way for me to get away. On getting in the open air, I hear hurried steps behind me, but before they can catch up with me, I'm outside the protective boundaries. He shouts my name repeatedly, endeavoring to stop me, and with consternation I realize the tone in which they are pronounced. It starts angry, as I was expecting, but he gets more afraid and agitated with each repetition until I don't turn to face him before to disapparate, and my name is become only a flattering whisper. And there are tears in my husband's eyes. And something else. There is an expression of longing I recognize. And I recognized it because it's the same expression I had many times on my face when looking at Harry. Don't go, please. His lips are saying without pronouncing any sound. And then, at that precise moment, a truth I never really believed in before hit me fully. He indeed loves me. He had always loved me, and I've never been able to pay him back. I complained about him being cold toward me, but I was expecting something I didn't give him in the first place. It was me that kept him far with my lack of affection. I realize now what I've always felt too guilty to admit. I never loved him. It has been an adolescent crush, no more, no less. I've always knew it, but felt too ashamed to own it. Everybody wanted us together. It was expected and cherished. Who was I to break everybody's wish? They are all painful discoveries, but it's foolish to keep pretending they're not real. He deserved a better wife than me, a wife for whom he would always have been forced. Nobody likes to hold a second place in the heart of the loved one. Who knows it better than myself? Perhaps, if that was the case, his behavior toward me would have been different. But I cannot allow myself to dawdle with this idle thinking, and I cannot allow myself to falter in compassion. This is the right thing to do, for both. A one-way love is not enough to sustain a relationship. Therefore, I stare in those watery blue eyes in which I looked into with many different feelings in the last 17 years. And I never imagined, when I tried to picture this moment, the predominant feeling would have been regret. I truly wish it could be different. Goodbye, Ron, I say with a softer tone. And it's with a heavy heart that I take that step that mark our final separation. Only a couple of hours later, I'm sitting around the table in Charlie's and Cleo's place. It's Sunday. I completely lost track of time, but I'm glad they are here. Hugo was overjoyed to see me. He's growing up very fast, but thankfully he's still a child, not afraid to show that he loves his mom. How good it does to one's heart to be welcomed by a child's smile in all its ingenuity and purity. It fills one with love and benevolence for the entire world. He was eager to show me a very good grade he got in school, and is growing very excited by the idea that is now close for him the moment when his magical powers will begin to show. I have no idea how I'll explain him about me and Ron separating, nor how he will take it. I'm sure Rose will understand. She's old enough. She will suffer for sure being so attached to Ron, but I'm sure that her, like me, had enough of the tension in the house, and she will support me in this. But Hugo is still so young. I'll tell him in the course of the day. Now he's playing with his broom in the garden, and I don't want to spoil his felicity. Charlie and Clea's expressions are grim. On the floor, there are 2 luggage. I filled them with Ron stuff, and they have consented to guest him until you won't find another place. I can't say I'm surprised, Charlie say, stroking his red hair uneasy. Nor do I, Clea adds with her strong accent, caressing her round belly. She's waiting for a second child. It was a long time they were looking for it, and finally they have succeeded. Another boy, to be born in 3 months. However, despite not being a surprise, it's still a bit of a shock, Charlie continues, especially because we were planning to announce, in stark opposition to your announcement, that me and Claire are getting married, he says, taking her hand while she beams serene. That's wonderful! Congratulations! I exclaim, struck. I always thought they would never get married. It didn't seem that important for them. Thank you, Charlie says with a coy smile. Now that a second child is coming, we thought best to take this step. The Harry and Ginny's accident made us reflect. I have an Zardon's profession too, and I don't want Clea and the children having to face problems in case anything happens to me, he says, looking fittingly to Clea, on his side, which smiles, gets slightly uneasy. It seems sensible, I acknowledge. We hope this news will pacify Molly against yours, Charlie adds with a smirk. We were thinking to ask Ron to be the best man, and, if you agree, we would like you to be godmother of little Adrian. I wasn't expecting this, and I feel a warm sensation of gratitude. I was so worried about losing this family I'm so attached to, divorcing Ron. So worried they would turn their back on me, and they are just showing me kindness and sympathy. I'd be delighted, I answer with a thankful smile. Clea nods, taking my hand and squeezing affectionately. What are you planning to do now? I'll surely stay here until Hugo finishes primary school, and then we will see. I might move back to England. I didn't decide yet. Charlie nods slowly. Yes, it's better not to move Hugo again for the moment. When he will go to Hogwarts or Durmstrang, it will be different. By the way, he adds, suddenly as an idea struck his mind. Now that I think of it, I've seen a small house in sale at the end of the street. We can go and have a look. It would be perfect for Ron. It's so close the kids could run back and forth very easily. That would be lovely, I reply, brightening. A solution of the kind is exactly what I was hoping for. I don't want Ron to have to be too far from the kids. He would go mad, I'm sure. When he'll be back, I'll talk to him, Charlie says steadfast, while Clea is clearing the table from the cups we used for our tea. Do Molly and Arthur know already? She asked, bringing everything to the sink. I sent them a letter this morning, so they should know, I reply, a bit uneasy. I didn't get an answer yet, not surprisingly, as I'm moving constantly. Why don't we call them? Clea suggests. We can announce them of our wedding, so our good news will swipe away the sad one. She concludes with an encouraging smile in my direction. Brilliant idea, Charlie says, standing up purposefully. Shall we? He asks me. I'm not grateful. It's going to be so much less awkward to talk about it with their sport. We need to shout their names 2 or 3 times before Molly appears. We were almost about to think they weren't at home. She looked agitated and worried when finally kneeling in front of the fireplace. Seeing me together with Charlie and Clea, she startles in surprise. Hermione, what are you doing there? Are you back in Romania? Since when? I was about to call you at Harry's. I'm a bit taken aback. Didn't you read my letter? I ask. Did you send one? No, I didn't, dear. We have been much busy this morning. She's talking fast, keeping glancing to the other room, her attention clearly somewhere else. We were a bit undecided whether to call for you. I think Harry should come here. Actually, we were about to call for Ted too, but he is out with Victoire, and we don't know where. Why? What's wrong? I ask, alarmed. She falters, throwing glances at me and on the door. I don't know, dear. Something is wrong with Sunrise. What do you mean? I ask, my voice faint. This morning she woke up whining. It's not the first time. There had been some pretty tough moments lately, and we are always on the lookout for any seizure because when she doesn't stop, it's always a bad sign. She kept on wailing for 2 solid hours and then... Then what? I press on urgently. She went quiet all of a sudden, but in an odd way. It's not a seizure. She's not speaking and her gaze is empty. She doesn't respond to any of our approaches. She only sucks her thumb convulsively. My heart starts to pump faster. Charlie and Clea on my side are watching concerned to me and Molly. Did you try to talk to her? Charlie asks. Yes, of course, Charlie dear, but she seemed not to hear us. Did you try to hold her? Clea follows. Yes, we tried everything. When did she start to go into this strange mood? I ask with a small voice, a creeping suspicion making way in me. This morning, I wouldn't know exactly when. This is wrong. Something is going very wrong there. And recalling our parting, the suspicion becomes a scary certainty. We wanted Ted to check on her. Molly kept going, but I interrupt her. No! I shout, and everybody looks surprised at me. No, Molly, you must look for Ted wherever he is, check everywhere, ask Arthur to send a Patronus, find him, and tell him to go straight away to Harry. But why? Molly falters. It's Sunrise! Molly, listen to me! I interrupt her again with urgency. Find Ted straight away and tell him to go to Harry. Now! This is important. Trust me on this. Molly is surprised. She opens her mouth to speak, but with a sudden brainwave I precede her. Molly! Check the clock! What does it say? She bolts up and peeps in the living room. All what I hear is a gasp which answers all my doubts. Do it now! We'll leave you the fire free! I bellow, pulling back my head and pulling away roughly both Charlie's and Clea's. I run to take my wand while Charlie is standing up with a bewildered expression. What's going on? He asks while Clea is still kneeling in front of the fireplace. I have no time to explain. I gotta go. Take care of Hugo, please. Tell him I'll be back as soon as I can. I blurt out while I'm already throwing some flue powder in the fire. I get back only an astounded expression from both as I'm already shouting the name of the forced border checkpoint.